Hello everyone, my name is Sebastian Narvaez and I'm going to talk about grammatical contents. Today, I will give you some tips to teach direct objects, indirect objects, and oblique objects. Okay, we are going to check two tips to teach direct objects. Tip number one, we need to teach our students what a direct object is. After that, we can practice some exercises in the class that will help them to achieve a better understanding of the topic. After the explanation of what a direct object is, um, the students, we can start with a simple exercise, like for example, the teacher writes on the board at least 15 sentences in which the learners will have to circle the verb and underline the direct object, like you can see, as you can see on the example. The teacher will correct the mistakes so the students will have a better understanding of direct objects. With this kind of practice, the students can easily find the direct object by practicing, and they will understand that the direct object is a noun phrase affected directly by the action performed by the subject in the same clause. For the tip number two, as a teacher, you can start an oral activity with the students to help them understand better about direct objects. The teacher will make groups in the class, for example, and he will write sentences on the board. The students will have to make questions using what in order to find the direct object. Example, Mario bought a car and a book. Now the teacher asks to one group or one student, Mario bought what? Students will answer, she bought two things, car and book. So as they can see, sometimes you will have more than one direct object, if that is the case. With this, the teacher will conduct a fun class by making students practice different ways to find direct objects, giving them confidence and more tools, and of course teaching them that the sentence can have more than two direct objects as well. Now we can check tips to teach indirect objects. The tip number one, now that the students know how to find direct objects, we can help them to understand better the indirect objects. This tip will help you to easily find direct objects. Example, Pedro bought Luisa a dress. First, you will have to identify the verb, the direct object, and finally the indirect object. With this activity, you will learn that to have an indirect object in a sentence, there must be a direct object, and also that the indirect object comes before the direct object. That will give you a better understanding of the topic. For the tip number two, the teacher can make a question game with the class. For example, in this activity, the teacher will write on the board as many sentences as he can, of course helped by the students. I can give you this tip. Use WH words like who, what, and whom. Example, Alex gives Sarah cookies. What is the action of the sentence? Gives is the verb in the sentence. Who or what is being given? Cookies is the direct object of the sentence. To or for whom or what are the cookies given? Sarah is the indirect object of the sentence. With this exercise, the students will orally practice and will learn how to find the indirect object by making questions. Now we are going to check the tips to teach oblique objects. The tip number one, as we already know, the oblique objects are similar to the indirect objects. The difference is that the oblique object occurs in a prepositional phrase. I can give you some tips to make the students understand better this topic. Give to each student a marker and make them write on the board prepositions, then sentences with prepositions. Of course, as teacher, you will have to write some examples first. Example, John bought a jacket to Nate. After a couple of sentences, the student will know that what is a preposition and a noun, and together they form a prepositional phrase. This can be a warm-up activity, so then we can start teaching them more examples with oblique objects. For the tip number 2, here's another tip. Now that your students know what a prepositional phrase is, make them write sentences on the board. You write the first sentence as an example. Make sure that the students have that these sentences have verb, direct object, and so they can act properly the oblique object. Example, Maria gave a letter to mom. Mom is the oblique object. You will highlight the noun and highlight the preposition so the student will understand that together they are called prepositional phrase and that oblique objects happens after the preposition. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Now these are the references and thank you very much.